If you're using any spreadsheets to manage your group program, you are not as organized as you think you are. Yes, even those pretty color-coded spreadsheets that you spent a lot of time on, they're just not as efficient as they could be if you ran your group program out of Airtable. In this video, I'm going to show you the differences between spreadsheets and Airtable. And if you are scaling a group program mastermind or membership this year and you're still running it out of a bunch of spreadsheets, you're going to want to stick around. My name is Ashley, and I'm an Airtable and automation expert that helps coaches organize and automate the back-end operations of their 6- and 7-figure group offers. I've helped countless entrepreneurs use Airtable to improve their student experience, make data-driven decisions, and have their biggest launches ever without burning out their team. By the end of this video, you're going to understand the key differences between Google Sheets and Airtable and why you should retire all of your spreadsheets and move them over to Airtable. I haven't used a spreadsheet in my business in over 2 years, and my business is better off for it. After this video, you're never going to want to create another spreadsheet again, so let's get into it. So the main difference between Google Sheets and Airtable is that your program needs a database, and a spreadsheet is not a database. So spreadsheets are made to collect data, and databases are designed to connect data, right? Databases help your information talk to each other, and spreadsheets, as we know, spreadsheet tabs don't really easily link together or connect. So you're having to create a bunch of duplicate spreadsheets with a bunch of duplicate data about your students. So you have their student contact information in one, and then you also have your students in another one that you're tracking their payment plan projections, and you have another one where you're tracking their Q&A call submission forms. All of that is in just random spots, and it's not actually connecting with each other. And that's what we want, and that's what we need to see if you're truly going to scale your group program and you want to have your operations super easy. In a database, you're able to link information together and create a central source of truth for your group program, sales data, and your launches. So instead of having all of these random spreadsheets with all of your students' progress and information and data, in Airtable, you'll have one central record for your student where you can pop it open and see everything about them. You can see every Q&A call submission they've ever made, any of their lesson completion, how many days they have left in the program, all of those things in one central spot instead of all in a bunch of different random spreadsheets. Simply put, a spreadsheet is just not a database, and we have been asking Google Sheets to do too much for us for too long. And honestly, it is not your fault. Database software hasn't really been readily available for small business owners. In the past, they required complex coding, they were often expensive to build, complicated to edit, and took a lot of expertise to maintain. But Airtable is an amazing database solution that is affordable, intuitive, and just so easy and scalable to run. So there's just so many moving pieces to a group program, like I mentioned, and there's truly just gold sitting inside of your spreadsheets. So with a database, you're actually able to connect all of that data and information together, generate reports, trigger automations based on student data, so many things that you can't just do in your average spreadsheet. So now that you understand the core differences between the two, let's get into some of the actual feature differences and what sets Airtable apart from Google Sheets. So first up is field types. Inside of Airtable, there are 28 different field types, so your database stays way more organized than a spreadsheet ever could. How many times has your spreadsheet started out super organized and with the best intentions, only for that phone number column to slowly devolve into an email column and a notes column? It's really hard to keep a spreadsheet organized and up to date, especially when you're scaling and especially when you have multiple team members inside of one spreadsheet. With Airtable, it's really clear what each column in Airtable, they're called fields, what each purpose is, and you can't adjust it. So it's an email field or it's a phone number field. And it's just really easy and clear. One of the specific field types that Airtable has that Google Sheets doesn't is attachments. How many times have we wanted to have attachments in our spreadsheets related to our group programs, whether that's putting our headshots of our clients or putting the podcast cover art from the podcast that you're pitching to for your marketing? There's so many ways you could add images into a database, into your spreadsheets. It's complicated. It's really clunky inside of a spreadsheet, but it's so easy and amazing inside of Airtable. So that's the first main difference, is that there's just so many different field types inside of Airtable that makes it so much more robust and organized than a spreadsheet ever could be. Another feature that really sets Airtable apart from Google Sheets is their views. So in a standard Google Sheet, everybody sees content in the same way. Yes, you can do some advanced filter views, but they're really hard to keep straight and organized. So in Airtable, you can set up views, which are specific ways of just looking at the same data. So no duplicate data entry. It is one click and the data can be viewed in a bunch of different really great ways. There are 7 different view types available in Airtable. There's 5 on the free plan, so I'm going to walk you through what those 5 free ones look like, because those are the ones that me and my clients use the most to keep our group programs organized. So first up is Grid View. So Grid View looks at the most like a spreadsheet. So you're going to look at this and you're going to be like, yes, Airtable basically looks like a spreadsheet, right? You might think that, but it gets way more complex and robust. So the grid view is amazing if you like to see things in that spreadsheet view. Inside of the grid view, you can group and you can sort and you can filter and really just see the data that's relevant to whatever you're looking at that moment. So grid view is amazing. That's pretty basic, the most like a spreadsheet. Next up is calendar view. So calendar view is incredible if you want to see student offboarding times, for example. That's really how we use calendar view a lot in our group program management. So with the click of a button, you can create a calendar view that will show all of the relevant dates that you need on a calendar. So how many times have we created a spreadsheet extra table and kind of stretched and forced the cells to look like a calendar? And we adjust the calendar and we add the dates that are on the other table. But if the dates change, then you have to update it. It just gets really messy really quick, and you don't know what the single source of truth is. You don't know which spreadsheet is the right one. In Airtable, it's all the same data, right? So your calendar view, if you update their end date on the calendar view, it's going to also update on the grid view or some of those other different views. So it just makes one cohesive central source of truth. Next up is form view. So if you use Google Forms in your group program, I need you to stop. Please stop using Google Forms and use Airtable and Airtable Forms instead. How we use those for a group program, we have every form that we'd ever have our students fill out during the course of the program, all in one central Airtable base. So their onboarding forms, their end of module check-in forms, their Q&A call forms, any of those forms, we have them inside of Airtable. So if you're used to creating Google Forms, creating forms in Airtable is going to be so intuitive for you, and you're going to see how much better it is inside of Airtable than it is in Google Forms. Because on the back end, all of that form data that's just been hidden in a bunch of random Google Sheets will now be tied and connected to your student in a one central source of truth in a database. So you can pop open your student and you can see how many questions have they submitted to our Q&A forms. Did they submit their onboarding form? Have they completed end of module lesson check-in forms? Any forms that you want your students to fill out will all be tied to a student central record inside of your database, which makes it so easy to really understand and have your finger on the pulse of where your students are at inside of your program. The next two views are Kanban and Gallery View. We don't use these as much to manage our group programs, but they're really nice to have. So Kanban, if you currently use Trello, you can do the same kind of cards that you do inside of Trello. Absolutely, if you're using Trello, all of that could also be in Airtable, but that is another video. So you can do those Kanban views. And you can also do gallery view. So gallery view is basically like little cards, which are great if you want to create a student directory. You could have a picture of all of your students with their contact information, more about them, so your students could browse that. Again, all of this is in one central spot, so you turn that grid view of your client data into a shareable gallery view that you can send to students. So if someone gets removed from the program and their status changes from active to removed, they would also be removed from that gallery automatically without anybody on your team having to go into a spreadsheet and remove their name and all of that stuff. These views are such a game changer. They really set Airtable apart from Google Sheets in terms of managing your group program. And the final difference between Airtable and Google Sheets is Airtable's ability to do internal automations. So we all love automations, right? We all probably have Zapier doing something automated to manage our group offers. Airtable actually has their own internal automations that you can use instead of Zapier. So we use both Airtable automations and Zapier to manage our group program. Airtable automations can be more efficient than Zapier. They are also, in terms of the way that they do pricing, you can save on Zaps and use Airtable instead for some things to manage your group program. So Airtable has compatibility with internal automations for Gmail, for Google Calendar, for Slack, and a bunch of other different things. It really makes it really easy to set up some automations. So some of our favorite internal automations that we use that Google Sheets just is not even in the conversation because they can't do this stuff right. Google Sheets, you can do Zaps, but it's really finicky. If you change a column, if you rename a column, it can all break. So it's just really delicate. And there's just no need to do that when Airtable is so robust in both their Zapier automations and their internal automations. So there's just so much you can do with automations inside of Airtable that you can't do with a spreadsheet, right? And one of the biggest things I recommend to my clients is that when you're scaling a group program, we need automations. We want to rely on them, and automations are not heartless, right? So some of our favorite automations that we use are when a student is 30 days out from graduating our program, Airtable will automatically send them a personalized Gmail message from us saying, hey, first name, you have 30 days left in the program. We can't believe it. We've had such a great time with you. You can renew here, and here's the link. And if you choose not to renew, make the most of the rest of your time in the program, and we'll be rooting for you. So you can adjust these automations to feel really warm and like they're coming from a real human because, a real human wrote them, but they're just getting automated and sent out. So those are amazing automations. There's so many ways you can use the internal Gmail automations inside of Airtable. So sending that 30 days out email, if they submit a form, you can send them their responses automatically. Lots of different things you can use there. Other internal automations that we use all of the time is sending Airtable data into Slack. So we have a support ticketing system or your Q&A call submission forms, any type of forms. You can say when there's new data, send it to my Slack channel. So we have a support ticket channel where we can see automatically in Slack all of the things that are happening in Airtable. So we won't miss anything. So being able to set up these Slack notifications is really helpful to make sure that nothing slips through the cracks inside of our database. So those internal automations are so amazing. They're so easy to set up. We absolutely love them. And Google Sheets they can't do it. It's just not as robust. So those automations are a huge reason to move into Airtable. So hopefully by now I've convinced you that you need to move your spreadsheets into Airtable, but you might be wondering what exact spreadsheets should be replaced by Airtable. So my answer is going to be all of them, but we'll start with some priorities first. I really haven't used a spreadsheet in my business in over 2 years, and we are more organized and we're more efficient than ever. But the spreadsheets I see a lot of group program founders using that could be so much better in Airtable are these. So payment plan projection spreadsheets. If you are doing that thing where the months are at the top and the names are on the side, and you're manually filling out, those $500 monthly payments for X amount of months, so you can sum up your monthly recurring revenue inside of a spreadsheet. Please stop doing that. It's so much better in Airtable. So I actually walk through how to do this inside of my free masterclass. the 3 Airtable systems you need before your next 6-figure group program launch. The link to that is in the description below. I highly recommend signing up for that. If you're curious about some of this stuff, we'll actually walk you through exactly what this looks like. But what we do is we say, when a new sale comes in, those payment plan projections automatically get created. And then when their student payment processes the next months, we actually can automatically update those payments from projected to received, right? So if someone cancels or gets a refund, that payment plan projection spreadsheet gets out of date really fast. With Airtable, you don't have to worry about your spreadsheets going out of date or wondering what is correct because everything is centralized and there's that like one central source of truth. So payment plan projections is a big one. Like I said, any client surveys that you use a Google form for and collect the responses in the back end of a Google Sheet are going to be so much better inside of Airtable. So any client surveys, any launch tracking spreadsheets, so many launch managers I see, our team members I see are manually filling out launch metrics every day inside of a spreadsheet. So tracking how many sales came in, what are payment plan versus pay in full, like what launch content went out, all of that stuff. I don't want your team to be doing that. And those spreadsheets are just a waste of time. Also, with launch tracking spreadsheets, there's so much rich data in those too, but each individual launch is kind of hidden and buried away in your Google Drive. Inside of Airtable, we have all of your launch data all in one spot, so you can track how your launches have been performing over time, which a spreadsheet just can't do. There's so many other ways you can use Airtable. Literally any spreadsheet you have would probably be better off inside of Airtable. Things like podcast production or podcast pitching or content marketing, anything like that that you're using to track pitches going out or track your content, all of that stuff would just be so much better inside of Airtable because you're able to do that calendar view, because you're able to add attachments as a field type so you can bring in podcast like cover art for the gallery, or you can bring in the IG carousel images. There's just so much more you can do inside of Airtable than you ever could in a spreadsheet. So I am so curious. Please let me know in the comments. Did this video inspire you to move any of your Google Sheets over into Airtable? And if so, what is the first thing you're going to try to move over? I would absolutely love to know in the comments below. And if you're curious about Airtable and how it can help you grow and scale your group offer, please sign up for my free masterclass, the 3 Airtable systems you need before your next 6-figure group program launch. I literally show you exactly what your Airtable setup should look like before your next launch. So if you're interested in that and a lot of things I mentioned in this video, please sign up for that and I'll see you inside of that masterclass. And if you like this video, please be sure to like and subscribe. And don't forget to let me know in the comments if you have any questions about all things Airtable, and I will see you in the next video.